respected old professor. We once again thank you for accepting our exclusive interview. In court, what about Zulin? This collection of Buddhist scriptures indeed mentions that there is a moon in the sky, and there are celestial beings, but astronauts really cannot see them. Why is that?
These are different dimensions of space. If one has the ability to transcend spatial limitations, then one can see it. Theoretically speaking, these scientists acknowledge that the maintenance of space is infinite. It is not as scientifically limited. This has been truly verified by Guang Nianju in the past. The scientist told me that there are definitely at least 11 different spatial positions. However, it is unclear what method to use to break through. If we break through, it is essentially how we perceive things. You see, with light waves, we now understand the wavelengths, both long and short. We can only see within a certain range. Of these fluctuations, we cannot see waves that are longer than this range. We can't see anything shorter than this wavelength. However, when we use instruments, we can see the invisible, X-rays and ultraviolet light. These instruments help us to see what we cannot perceive. If all these light waves could be seen, the world would be different. The moon is different, very different. Don't just talk about the moon. Even on our Earth, there are human spirit magazines. This also relates to the maintenance of different entities coexisting in the same space. When humans and spirits are together, I encounter some of my classmates who are involved in film and television. They told me that it was at night when they were filming on location in this parish in Hong Kong. It was late at night, and after finishing the shoot, everyone was hungry and wanted to eat something. We saw a small market that was very lively, so we went in to grab a bite. We had a great time eating and then paid for our food. The next day, when I went home, I had diarrhea, and when I vomited, it was all sorts of messy things, just like everyone else. What on earth was going on? When I drove back there, I realized that yesterday's visit was to a graveyard. Everyone suddenly understood. While looking around, I found some money that was valuable. When shopping and paying, it's tricky with change. When I checked the money, it was valuable. They told me it's true. What we saw with our own eyes is not a false encounter with this matter. So what about these things? There are many records of them in our Chinese note-taking novels. So those kinds of things. Not necessarily. That's a myth. It could all be true, like these. The performers and what they encounter.
So why can some people see it while others cannot? It's because their fates are different. Their fates are different.
Those people just happen to have conflicts with them. Seeing them may not necessarily be a good thing, and not seeing them may not necessarily be bad. Remember this principle. All that is form is ultimately illusory. So where do these different spatial maintainers come from? Apparently, scientists cannot find the path of the Buddhist scriptures.
So, regarding the beings in different dimensional spaces that you just mentioned, many people, when they first encounter this, don't quite understand the different dimensional spaces. How can they comprehend it in simpler terms?
When we are not in the same space, our experience in 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, and 5-dimensional spaces is different. A space is 3-dimensional. This is not 4-dimensional. That's correct. The maintenance of that space is not the same, and as a result, you won't be able to see each other.
For example, we indeed cannot see spirits now, and those spirits cannot see us either.
Do different dimensions of space not interfere with each other? However, if one can break through them, they would be able to see. And it is not difficult for us to break through the space with spirits. It is quite easy. With just a little clarity in the heart, we can connect more closely. So, we have clarified in Buddhist teachings how space is maintained and what causes it. It is caused by attachment and differentiation. You say that differentiation is limitless and boundless, and attachment is also limitless and boundless. Different spaces maintain a boundless nature. How can we eliminate it? Therefore, meditation eliminates it. As long as you let go of differentiation and attachment, the spatial positions will no longer exist. Can you see all?
In other words, no matter how far our scientists fly or which planet you go to, the essence of your mind remains within three-dimensional space.
And there are delusions and attachments that connect you to the interconnected space. Yes, you mentioned that when we discovered it, these UFOs in outer space were also in three-dimensional space. If he is in a higher dimensional space, he doesn't need to use this mode of transport. He is using such a heavy thing.
The Buddhist scriptures say that there really is a celestial being in the moon palace. Oh my, how could there not be such a being? According to the practice of Buddhism, ordinary people can calm this deluded mind. Yes, let it settle down, just as you mentioned, to make it a bit more tranquil. Yes, in one space, I can personally see and perceive it.
When I became a monk. We have 2 classmates, and the 3 of us are very good friends from childhood. The 3 of us had almost identical fates in childhood. The fortune teller said that we wouldn't live past 45. We really believe that in February of the year when we turned 45, this event happened. Another saying from Wu Yu is, after 7 months, I fell ill. I knew the time had come. At that time I was discussing the Surangama Sutra. After talking for a third of it, I caught a bad cold. I realized that I don't seek doctors or take medicine because I believe that doctors can only treat illnesses, not save lives. I can't change my fate. There's nothing I can do. If your lifespan is up, then your life has been of no use. Doctors can't change the country or alter fate, so I closed the door and focused on chanting to seek rebirth. I chanted for a month, and then I was fine. Just by overcoming this barrier, they moved on. Both of these 2 have done quite well in their practice. This is the famous master who walked the 5 sacred mountains. He was very close to me. During the War of Resistance, we were classmates. I didn't know my classmate from the same school back then because we were in different classes. So when I became a monk, he didn't. And when I learned Buddhism, he didn't either, making our bond stronger than biological brothers. So when he saw me giving a lecture on the platform, he felt very sad. Look, you've exchanged your thoughts for your tongue, and no one believes him. So he started learning esoteric practices. I found this superior in Kwayang, and I learned secret methods from him. He said that secret methods have supernatural powers. He mentioned that he also learned the 11-line supernatural powers, but people don't believe it. It's much more sophisticated than your idle chatter. Many people are like this now. Yes, that's right, they believe, so they go and learn esoteric practices. To truly learn these powers, one must first study Vajrayana Buddhism in 3 months, or rather in 100 days. One has to carve out 100,000 large characters. It was very tough. He really is. He takes things very seriously, and then we. Compared to him, none of us work as hard as he does. In a year, he came to tell me. Returning to this generation, he is very clear. He can see during the day and he can see at night. That's it. Usually he can be seen all the time. This obstacle of his is gone. So I laughed at him and said, you say there are no obstacles, but I see you and you don't see me. I don't believe it. How can you prove it to me so that I can see it too? He was left without a way to respond. So I still couldn't be convinced, and I said, your method is even worse than my prize. You see, he passed away at 45, but at that time, after I saw him studying for a year or 2, he had become a different person. His face lacked vitality, ashy and grey. What about the body? It's swollen. So I told Teacher Lee. Teacher Lee understands fate. He has studied both national and folk knowledge. I shared this situation with him, and after listening, Teacher Lee said that each has its own causes and conditions.
Each has its causes and conditions.
I originally wanted to invite him to study the Buddhist scriptures together, each with our own English, considering the milestone of turning 45. He didn't pass through, but what did he say? The situation regarding the orbit is real, I have no doubt about it, because this person does not speak falsely.
So, after listening to what she said, it seems like you are telling everyone that this is very similar to what Confucius taught, which is to respect the spirits but keep a distance from them.
Hygiene should be improved. It's not about principles, but rather about not listening to it. When you listen to it, aren't you being deceived by spirits? Being deceived by people and being deceived by spirits is equally painful. It seems that the Buddhist scriptures say that the realm of spirits is lower than the human realm. However, spirits possess the 5 abilities. The 5 powers refer to 5 types of supernatural abilities. Yes, these minor supernatural abilities are not that significant. For example, the predictions he makes about events within a month are often very accurate. I want to tell you about something that will happen a year from now. Sometimes it's just nonsense. Anyway, you won't be able to find him because his heart isn't that of a bodhisattva. Right, that's correct. He's still young. So why do so many people believe in spirits? It's because he has a small connection and can accurately describe things that are very close. So when we interact with spirits, we must remember a principle that it suggests. It can only be used as a reference. The methods it proposes should be approached with great caution. So often when he proposes methods, we use Buddhist scriptures to solve the issues, not his methods, and we do not adopt his approach.
There is a problem with exploring the universe and the world using current technology. That mind is indeed filled with delusions and distinctions, but how can we break through the maintenance of space? There's no way to break through. We are always stuck in 3 dimensions. Yes, that's right.
The truth lies here. Therefore, scientists can never compare to those who have attained meditation skills.
Those who have meditation skills and study Buddhism do not rely on any technology.
That's right. He can see truths that scientists cannot. That's correct. That's correct. Not only can he see this. The level of meditation practice varies. When it reaches a certain degree, this is what is now referred to as special abilities. Advanced special abilities can include the ability to split one's presence. Wherever you want to travel, you don't need tools. If you think of going to America, just by that thought of America, you are already there. Indeed, why is that? Without space, there is no gathering force. Without space, there is no time and there is no sequence. Time and space are not truly real, as discovered by modern scientists.
So this person went to America, but their original body is still here. They are still present.
He can be said to have the ability to manifest countless forms without limit. Isn't that describing Buddhas and Bodhisattvas? Then everyone is a Buddha or Bodhisattva. You see, the Huayang Sutra says that all sentient beings are originally Buddhas. In theory, it is possible, but there is no method. Yes, if energy can transform into matter, our bodies would be much more at ease. I could turn my body into energy, and then the energy would disappear, transforming into light. When the light is everywhere, it can reach any place. And then this light transforms back into energy. It then becomes a person. This is true. It is not false.
Energy transforms into matter. Let me give you an example. For instance, I have a thought in my mind, which is a form of energy. We've watched the TV series Journey to the West, where Sun Wukong says that with a transformation, he can create something out of nothing. Energy transforms into matter. That's right. And we see the beings in the Western Pure Land, in the Buddhist scriptures. As soon as I have the thought of wanting this delicious food, it appears right in front of me. This is the material that transforms energy into matter. And then, after eating, or when something is no longer needed, he doesn't need to eat. When it's not necessary, it disappears, and the ability is lost. The material transforms and returns to energy.
How can they transform between wisdom and thought? What kind of person and to what degree can one achieve such ease and reach this level without using any instruments? As long as the two questions are resolved, your delusions will be gone. It's not delusion, as delusions still exist.